left completely alone with nobody to talk to.
And time to reflect. Scott Carpenter never flew into space again, but he was hardly idle, turning his attention instead to the sea and writing. Peter King, CBS News at the Kennedy Space Center.
Not a dry eye in a lot of houses last night.
525,600 minutes.
As the cast of Fox TV's Glee said goodbye to the character Finn and paid tribute to the man who played him, the late Cory Monteith.
3 weeks to the day since his funeral, and it's the first time I've had the courage to even look at the suit I wore to it.
Monteith died in July of an accidental drug overdose. It's never revealed how the character Finn died. The focus is more on what his life meant to others. A new report finds fewer gay and bisexual characters in the new TV broadcast season after a record-setting year. Gay characters in cable shows continue to increase, according to the group GLAAD. Roadwork is turning an important corner in a state devastated by flooding last month.
Colorado's Department of Transportation is enlisting the help of an army of workers to clean up and repair hundreds of millions of dollars in damage to the state's roads.
We've never experienced something like this in the history of the department.
The department's Amy Ford says contractors, highway crews, and the National Guard from Colorado and Utah are trying to meet the governor's goal of reopening all flood-impacted roads by December 1st.
We need to get communities reconnected before the winter sets in. And then on our eastern plains, we need to get communities reconnected in time for harvest.
Stephen Kaufman, CBS News, Denver.
North Dakota farmer Steve Jensen may have felt a bit like TV's Jed Clampett when he noticed oil bubbling up out of his wheat field. But he didn't strike it rich. Turns out to be a spill from a pipeline break. It's about the size of 7 football fields. The flow's been stopped. Jensen harvested most of the wheat. Now the field is ruined. That's the World News Roundup, produced by Paul Ferry. I'm Steve Kathan, CBS News.
Welcome back to Studio 29 for Friday edition of First Cup. Coming up in a few minutes, I'll have the popular tweets of the day, what's on TV tonight, the song of the day, as well as a special tribute to my late father. Right now, though, it is Friday, and that means it's time for the Friday Funnies. And the comedian of choice this week is the late, great Benny Hill. And I'll pull up my notes here. Took me totally by surprise. I was so wrapped up in the CBS News and shocked to learn of Scott Carpenter's death. I had no idea he was that old, but it has been over 50 years since his historic flight into space. So, anyway, Friday Funnies time. And Ernie, the Fastest Milkman in the West, is an innuendo-laden comedy or novelty song written and performed by English comedian Benny Hill. The song was first performed on television in 1970 and released as a successful recording, topping the UK singles charts a year later, reaching the Christmas #1 spot. The lyrics' storyline is inspired by Hill's early experience as a milkman for Hans Dairies in Eastleigh, Hampshire. Market Street, mentioned in the lyrics, is an actual road in Eastleigh. The song tells the fictional exploits of Ernie Price, a 52-year-old, 68 in the original TV version, milkman who drives a horse-drawn milk cart. He relates his war with the bread delivery man, Two-Ton Ted from Teddington. I love that. And their efforts to win the heart of Sue, a widow who lives on her own at number 22 Lindley Lane. In the end, the two men fight with the wares they carry on their carts, and Ernie is killed by a rock cake underneath his heart, followed by a stale pork pie in his eye. A fresh meat pie in the original TV version. Now, Sue and Ted then marry, but Ernie's ghost returns to haunt them on their wedding night. Ernie was originally written in 1955 as the introduction to an unfilmed screenplay about Hill's milkman experiences. 11 years later, Frank Gallup had a U.S. hit with the Ballad of Irving, which had the same melody and similar meter. Hill performed the song on the Benny Hill Show in 1970. The original clip is seldom repeated, as it was made in black and white owing to a technician strike, but the episode has been released on DVD on both sides of the Atlantic. In the original TV broadcast version, as part of the song's comedy plot, Benny incorrectly sings the name Ernie several times as Herney, to which the backing singers would correct him strongly by replying the name as Ernie. To this, Benny would then pull an embarrassed, annoyed face. The comedy plot was concluded at the end of the song when Benny, pulling a mischievous face, sang a final Herney. On the record release, only the final Herney is heard. Well, in the following year, it was included with minor lyrical revisions on Hill's album, Words and Music. When it was released as a single on EMI's Columbia label, it became a surprise #1 hit, topping the UK singles chart for 4 weeks at Christmas time, 1971. A promotional film was shot starring Hill as Ernie and Henry McGee as Ted. Well, Hill re-recorded the song shortly before his death in 1992 for the album Benny Hill, The Best Of. On Desert Island Disc in May of 2006, Conservative Party leader David Cameron picked it as one of his 8 favorite records. Ernie was referenced in the superhero segment of one episode of BBC's TV's Basil Swap Shop, with an Ernie lookalike appearing at the superhero's flat, only to be told that speedy delivery of milk was not a superpower. And now, coming up on today's edition of the Friday Funnies, here is the 1971 released Benny Hill, Ernie, the fastest milkman in the West. Whoops, I goofed. I pulled up the wrong intro. Let me try that again. That was bad radio. I apologize. I could have sworn that was the right one. What's going on here? Oops, I did pull up the wrong one. Okay, my bad. Okay, we're going to try that one more time. Here is the proper intro. Okay.
Prepare for stupidity.
Pay attention to me, boy. I'm not just talking to hear my head roar.
Spit out the golf ball.
Waka waka. Who wants to hear a funny ass joke?
That's what she said.
Beats pound as they raced across the ground, and the clatter of the wheels as they spun round and round. And he galloped into Market Street, his badge upon his chest. His name was Ernie, and he drove the fastest milk cart in the West. Now Ernie loved a widow, a lady known as Sue. She lived all alone in Lily Lane at number 22. They said she was too good for him. She was haughty, proud and chic. But Ernie got his cocoa there 3 times every week. They called him Ernie. Ernie! And he drove the fastest milk cart in the West. She said she'd like to bathe in milk. He said, all right, sweetheart. And when he'd finished work one night, he loaded up the cart. He said, you want it pasteurized, 'cause pasteurized is best. She says, Ernie, I'll be happy if it comes up to me chest. That tickled old Ernie. And he drove the fastest milk cart in the West. Now Ernie had a rival, an evil-looking man called Two-Ton Ted from Teddington, and he drove the baker's van. He tempted her with his treacle tarts and his tasty oatmeal bread, and when she seen the size of his hot meat pies, it very near turned her head. She nearly swooned at his macaroon, and he said, now if you treat me right, you'll have hot rolls every morning and crumpets every night. He knew once she sampled his layer cake, he'd have his wicked way, and all Ernie had to offer was a pint of milk a day. Poor Ernie! Ernie! And he drove the fastest milk cart in the West. One lunchtime, Ted saw Ernie's awesome cart outside her door. He drove him mad to find it was still there at 4:30. And as he leapt down from his van, off blood through his veins did course, and he went across to Ernie's cart, and he didn't half kick his horse, whose name was Trigger. Trigger! And he pulled the fastest milk cart in the West. Now Ernie rushed out into the street, his gold top in his hand. He said, if you want to marry Susie, you fight for her like a man. Oh, why don't we play cards for her, he sneeringly replied. And just to make it interesting, we'll have a shilling on the side. Now Ernie dragged him from his van, and beneath the blazing sun, they stood there face to face, and Ted went for his bun. But Ernie was too quick, things didn't go the way Ted planned, and a strawberry-flavoured yoghurt sent it spinning from his hand. Now Susie ran between them and tried to keep them apart, and Ernie pushed her aside and a rock cake caught him underneath his heart. And he looked up in pained surprise, and the concrete hardened crust of a stale pork pie caught him in the eye, and Ernie bit the dust. Poor Ernie.
Ernie!
And he drove the fastest milk cart in the West. Ernie was only 52. He didn't want to die. But now he's gone to make deliveries in that milk round in the sky, where the customers are angels and ferocious dogs are banned, and the milkman's life is full of fun in that fairy dairy land. But a woman's needs are manifold, and Sue, she married Ted. But strange things happened on their wedding night as they lay in their bed. Was that the trees a-rustling, or the hinges of the gate? Or Ernie's ghostly gold tops a-rattling in their crate? They won't forget Ernie.
Ernie!
And he drove the fastest milk cart in the West.
And that, my friends, concludes the Friday Funnies. Benny Hill, Ernie the fastest milkman in the West. All right, it's time for a little night court action, my friends. One of my favorite shows to watch with my dad when that show first debuted in January of 1984. My mom couldn't stand it, but my dad and I we roared. I still love Bull. I mean, how can you not love a guy named Bull Nostradamus Shannon? I mean, anyway. It's time now for News of the Weird on this Friday afternoon.
And that's going to son of a bitch. Why is this happening?
And it's time for News of the Weird on the 11th day of October, 2011. And let's see what I have for you today. Where's the News of the Weird at? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Should be right here. Here we go. Vatican medal recalled because Jesus was misspelled. How did they screw that up? Seems that the Catholic Church is recalling 6,000 already released medals commemorating Pope Francis's first year. The medal was recalled when buyers noticed that the word Jesus was spelled with an L around the rim of the medal. The Jesus medal was produced in gold, silver, and bronze with an image by artist yada 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 and an image of the Pope on the other side. Didn't it occur to the manufacturer that, this order's going to the Vatican. Who's this Jesus? Oh well, go ahead, start printing it. 6,000? How do you screw up an order like that? Oh my God. Oh well, it happens. That's the News of the Weird for today. Here's another fine mess you've gotten me into. Okay, well, let's see if we can find Rick Perry. Governor Rick Perry of Texas, are you here? I know you're in here. All right, there you are. It's time for popular tweets of the day, my friends.
And you can always follow me on Twitter.
Hello, computer.
Just use the keyboard.
The keyboard? How quaint.
Wow. Okay, time for popular tweets of the day. Kanye West and Jimmy Kimmel quickly dispelled the idea their so-called rap feud was a publicity stunt during Kanye's uncomfortable appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live this week. Kanye went off on several rants that was pure Kanye. Well, I've gone to the Twitter to see what people were saying about Kanye, and well, here are some of the things that I found. Jasmine Mann writes, when I have kids, I fully plan on reading Kanye West rants to them instead of fairy tales. Vamp writes, If I can take anything from Kanye West, is that you need to be passionate about